I spent the night crying and wondering if I had become insane. The second time, he asked me to put Gracie on the phone. Gracie was our 8-year-old daughter who was unwittingly playing in her room. Matt, that's not possible. I can't bring her into whatever this is. She will end up so confused. Just like I've been the past few days. Why are you even doing this? Come be with me. His voice sounded so cold. What do you mean? You know what I mean. Don't you want to be a family again? The three of us, like we used to. It would be so easy. Gracie is my family now, and you will always be, but you're gone, Matt. You can't ask me to do this. Then he got angry again. So you're just gonna leave me here alone? God damn bitch, I should have known. I thought you loved me, Mary. Where is all your love now? From that moment on, I had nothing else to say to him. What he was implying was beyond evil. How could he want us to die? I blocked the number right away and tried to move on. Today around noon, I got a call from my daughter's school. She had just been taken to the hospital in critical condition. The principal shakily explained to me how all of a sudden Gracie started running and jumped off a second-floor window. It all happened so fast that no one had time to react. So far, they were thinking it could have been an internet challenge gone wrong. The phone rang while I was staggering to the car, still trying to process what I had just heard. Unknown number. My heart sank. Mummy, I couldn't wait to talk to you. Daddy was right. It's so much nicer here. When are you coming? He says it should be any time now. The next one is called I was so nervous to introduce my friends to my new girlfriend. My friends were great. I knew they were going to love Beth, but I wanted this night to be incredible, for them to see in her what I saw in her. I was never the one to introduce somebody to the group, so I wanted the evening to go perfectly. I diced both onions, then the carrots, big chunks sliced on the bias, and the celery peeled down the back to remove the strings. The stew meat had mostly thawed, so I tossed in some vegetable oil, salt and pepper, and added the first batch to my hot Dutch oven to brown, taking care not to crowd the pot. The meat left a beautiful brown fond on the bottom of the pot, to which I added another drizzle of oil and the onion and celery. Once softened, I added a few cloves of minced garlic for about 30 seconds, then deglazed with the tiny nib of cognac I'd bought from behind the liquor store counter, scraping up the brown bits. The meat and carrots went back in the pot, along with half a bottle of red wine, some chicken stock and a bouquet garni of thyme, bay and a tiny sprig of rosemary. It can be so overpowering. I added some more salt and pepper, then my secret ingredients, a dusting of freshly grated nutmeg and a big square of ketchup. Once the liquid started to simmer, I put the lid on the pot and stuck it in a 325 oven to braise for the next 2 hours. Dinner was perfect. Everyone loved the stew and the garlic mashed potatoes. And most importantly, everyone loved Beth. How could you not? She looked beautiful in her navy blue dress. She was very full-figured, but didn't try to hide her curves. She laughed at all the right times, even when Michael told his stupid joke about the parrot we'd all heard 100 times before. Laura poured the last of the Bordeaux into her glass. She looked at me. It was time. I'll grab another bottle, I said, and took the empty one as I got up from the table. Beth was mid-laugh when I brought the bottle down on her head. You could still hear it ringing out as she slumped forward onto the table. Everyone sprung into action. Dougie and Chris hoisted her up and carried her down into the basement where I'd laid out the tarp. They got her situated upside down on the hook. Michael, a surgical resident at the local hospital, brought out his kit and with expert precision cut into her jugular to bleed her out. Laura, the butcher's daughter, began sharpening her tools. Just in time too, she said. That stew was the last we had of Paul, right? It was amazing, by the way, and this one looks well marbled. I smiled. The night could not have gone better. I'm so happy my friends finally got to meet my girlfriend. That's bloody gross. The author obviously wanted us to think that he was cooking Beth at the start. It's a nice twist, but that's gross. The next story is called Every Patient I Saw That Day Told Me They'd Had a Premonition of My Imminent Death. Well, that's never something you love to hear, I thought to myself as my first patient of the day left my office. With all the drama going on with my life, the pending divorce and everything, well, work had been an escape for me recently. I wanted it to stay that way. Normally, therapy is supposed you would die in your sleep tonight," she had said to me with all the tact of an order placed in a drive-thru. "Yes, I'll have a number 1 combo, medium please. Also, by the way, I had a premonition you'll die tonight. Oh, what the heck, better make it a large actually." I laughed a little grimly to myself and then opened the notes on my next patient. 20 minutes later, I looked up from my notepad in surprise. "That's odd," I began. "That's not the first thing I've heard like that today." My next patient laughed a little self-consciously. "I know dreams don't mean anything. I just felt like I had to tell you. I'm not sure why." I tried to keep the focus on him, hiding my uneasiness as well as I could. "I wonder if this dream you had about me dying in my sleep speaks to an underlying anxiety you may have. I worry about your health, perhaps." "I don't think so," my patient replied. "It just felt so specific to you." I opened the door to my office to welcome in my 3rd patient of the day, an elderly woman I'd been seeing for years. I flinched as she moved to the door faster than I ever would have thought possible for someone of her age. "Is everything okay, Martha?" I asked her. She put her hands on my forearms as if she wanted to hug me. "Oh, you're alright," she said, relief flooding her face. "I had the worst dream about you and it felt so real." I looked at her, silently pleading with her not to say it. "It's so morbid, but I saw you die in your sleep." I arrived home late that night, not looking forward to the usual knockdown, drag-out fight with my wife. "She'll be your ex-wife soon enough," I reminded myself. I had nothing to worry about though. She was in a bizarrely jovial mood. "I'm sorry you had such a rough day," she said, and she seemingly meant it. It was bizarre to say the least. This was the woman who had professed her profound hatred for me every day for the last 6 months after all. "I know what'll help," she said. "You go run a hot bath and I'll pour you a glass of red wine. That should put you right to sleep." Oh, I wonder whether the wife kills him, or whether she had the premonition as well, and so is excited for him to go to sleep, so that he'll die in his sleep. What do you guys think? Do you think she killed him, or she was just happy for him to go to sleep, so that he'd die in his sleep? The next story is called "My Wife Hates That My Son Is Just Like Me." My wife and I are very different people. Her delicate, careful nature has always opposed my reckless and adrenaline junkie lifestyle. She's tamed me down quite a bit, but people still comment that we are the definition of opposites attract. When my wife announced the pregnancy, our families placed bets on who we would take after. My wife and I prayed that he might just adopt both of our traits, because admittedly our strong personalities had their flaws. She was a perfectionist to a fault, and I was a troublemaker at heart. When I held Hayden in my arms for the first time, I felt full in a piece of my heart I didn't even know existed. I've not always been the nurturing type, but Hayden made me want to be. It didn't take long for Hayden to grow into his personality. He was carefree, adventurous, boisterous and snarky. It was clear who he took after. Everyone called him my mini-me. My wife rolled her eyes every time that comment was made. I could tell she was more impulsive than the dad, then the dad would get in trouble. Like they'd look into the dad as well. I don't know. The next one is called Every Halloween My Mummy Carves Special Jack-o'-lanterns. She won't let me show anyone. Mummy, where do you get your jack-o'-lanterns? I asked, gazing expectantly up at her. She stared for a long time at the 3 lumpy orange masses lying neatly in front of her before she turned to me and stooped to my level. Her icy gaze sent a chill rippling down my spine as her eyes connected with mine. It's a secret. I'll tell you when you're older, but you can't talk about them with the other kids, okay? I sheepishly broke eye contact, puffing out my lower lip as I stared defiantly at the ground. But Mummy, yours are so much better than everyone else's. None of my friends' jack-o'-lanterns have hair or teeth or blood like yours do. I want to show them. I whined, tears threatening to spill down my rosy cheeks. I know you do, sweetie, but Mummy will get in big trouble if you tell anyone about these. You don't want Mummy to get in trouble, do you? No, I sniffled as she gently wiped my face. That's a good girl. I'll tell you what, when you're old enough we can carve the jack-o'-lanterns together, but only if you promise not to tell anyone. She fixed her gaze on me, awaiting a response. I turned to the jack-o'-lantern closest to me. It looked so real. Tangled, blood-splattered blonde hair sprouted from the top of the pumpkin. Its mouth was twisted downward in a permanent scream. Perfect white teeth visible within. And those eyes, I could just feel the fear radiating from those pale blue irises. I slowly turned back to Mummy. A smile blossomed across my lips, and I nodded my head fervently. I promise, I can't wait, I cried, hopping up and down excitedly. One day my jack-o'-lanterns will be even more terrified than yours. The last story is called The Nanny. Brutal, although even that doesn't quite describe it. 30 years on the job and I've never seen anything so gruesome. An entire family mercilessly and ritualistically slain. The mother, the father, their 2 children, the family dog. It was grotesque. Patterns were painted all over the walls, phrases in Latin, symbols I've seen in horror films about witchcraft and the occult, all done in blood. So much blood. When the children didn't show up for school and the parents weren't answering their phones, we got the call. I was first on scene and found them. The front door was unlocked when I arrived. When no one answered, I let myself in, and Jesus, dear Lord Jesus. They were posed on the couch like they were sitting for a family portrait, the parents flanking the children in the middle, the dog at their feet, the terror of the last moments frozen on their faces. I had to sprint outside to vomit so as not to contaminate the scene. It wouldn't really have mattered though. When CSI arrived, they found a wealth of evidence. DNA, fingerprints, hair, even the murder weapon, a butcher knife, were all left behind without a hint of the killer trying to cover their tracks. It was as if they actually went out of their way to leave us clues. But nothing prepared us for who it was. The fingerprints on the knife gave us a match. A hit from a drug charge some 50 years ago. A woman, an older woman, Eleanor Beeman, born August 13th, 1951. We had expected a young, fit man based on the fact they'd overpowered an entire family and just the sheer volume of stab wounds. There were hundreds of them by the coroner's count. We were baffled as to how this septuagenarian had the endurance to thrust that many times. It turned out she was the children's nanny, and when questioned, she claimed to have no knowledge of the murders. In fact, she broke down in tears and seemingly genuinely heartbroken that the family was dead. Even when we showed her her own blood-stained clothes we'd found in her trash, she proclaimed her innocence and said that she would never have done anything to harm them. Odder still, everyone that knows her in the family backs her claims. They said she loved those children and they treated her like an adopted grandmother. Apparently, she's just the sweetest little old lady. I can't make heads or tails of it. My father, a retired detective himself, listened in rapt silence as I told the story, his face growing paler with every word I spoke. What's wrong? I asked him. It's just, I had a case early in my career that was identical. An older nanny slayed a family, posed them on the couch,